so annoying. I always get calls as soon as I start making a video, which I've had no call all morning, and it's 11:30, and then I make a video and someone calls. Anyway, I'm not really doing massage at all now. My ad is well, I've only got one ad up on like a random channel. But anyway, I yeah. So with my sister, we've got a meeting, and well, she said yesterday that my plan was that my mum go and live with her for 3 months whilst the baby is very, very young. But she said yesterday that she doesn't want Linda's. Of course, Linda's not going. Of course, that's not going to happen because Linda doesn't. She can't live with Linda, and that's not going to happen. And then she's talking about Donny, this guy that she's the next in line. There was about five guys that she was going to date a few years over the last 2 years, and she's kind of choosing the best one. Donny was the best until he died, and now she's just moved on to the next one. And he's though is more of a party type, might not stay around, and I don't think that he would be a good decision to look after the baby just because I don't know him, so I've never met him or anything. But he didn't say some very nice things about Sophie, and even now he's not saying nice things about her. So um, I don't know. But if she thinks she's making bad decisions about who's best for looking after Blake. No, not looking after the new one. I think she's going to call him Leo. But yeah, if it goes to court, it's likely that the child will be put in my mum's responsibility. I would say that I would be a good candidate. The problem is I can't breastfeed a kid, and I think in the first 3 months it's really important for health reasons that a baby is breastfed, and I can't do that. So either Sophie has to live with me for 3 months, um, or Sophie or the child goes to my mum, and then my sister visits my mum once a week to make sure that she, I don't know, breastfeeds during the week, and then just gives all the milk on a certain day, which will last. I don't know. She might have to visit twice, but she's going twice a lot. She's going to London often to see the older kid, Blake, and she can get to London very easily, whereas it's not easy to get to Birmingham. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, it's best that the child goes to the most. I'm probably a lot more responsible than my mum because my mum is a bit mad and she's a bit batty, and if there are problems, I can see that she might not. She'll deny them. There's a lot of problems with Sophie, and my mum the whole time just denies that there's anything wrong. No, she's fine. She's just going through a phase. It's fine. It's not fine. It's not going through a phase. Even for like 2 years, Sophie anytime Sophie became depressed, it was like, oh yeah, it's just postnatal depression. It's normal, and it's just like, no, this isn't normal. But yeah, she's in complete denial about it. Um, but at the same time, she is capable of looking after a child. So, um, yeah, I don't know what will happen, but I know that it probably does need to go to court because I can see my sister not agreeing to whatever, or she'll agree to it. She'll verbally agree to it. And then as soon as the social services walk away, there'll be squabbling between my mum and my sister over who gets to look after the child. My sister will be like, well, it's my child. So what if we verbally said something? It means nothing. It's just words. I mean, I can say anything and it doesn't mean anything. Um, and so therefore it probably does need to go to court for it to not be in words. So I'm going down to the meeting. I know I need to be really careful what I'm saying because I don't want to put my sister down too much, but it's true that I'm in favour of it going to court because I think it should be written down somewhere, and I think Sophie shouldn't be allowed to just push Linda or my mum away and make out that she's not capable of doing things when really she is more capable than my sister would give her credit for. Um, and with me as well, if I was to take the responsibility of the child when the child it doesn't no longer needs to be breastfed, um, I I would want it to be in writing because I don't want my sister to just come along and take the child and think that she can do what she wants because it's her child. That's the sort of attitude that she has. Um, and I can understand George. I don't understand how George never said anything to us or anything, but he Sophie can be a bit erratic sometimes, and she doesn't listen to, like, she can make verbal agreements and then completely break it or just lie or whatever. She says she doesn't, and she's not like that, but she is like that now. I think she's had a kind of a, it's not a harsh change, not a harsh shock after. She hasn't coped with the change from being just the housewife of someone who is earning all the money. She's gone from quite a shock from that to having to support herself and look after herself. And I don't think she's really stable enough, really, for. Um, we'll see. Because I don't want to put it down. Maybe I don't know her, but I know that she doesn't always make sense. And I hardly ever see her. She's not in my life, and I don't want her to be in my life for reasons of these that I'm saying now. But anyway, um, what is going on with my? I'm not going to say anything more. Um, I don't know what else to say. Um, I think when it comes to the exposing of what I believe, I really need a team of intelligent people to look through the evidence that I've seen as to why I think I'm Christ, and I need I need that, and I know that it's only going to take a certain type of person that would be able to see what I see. But if it's meant to happen, it'll meant to happen. Meant to happen. I think if nothing happens by next September, um, I'm going to assume that nothing will happen during my lifetime. I think that's what I'm going to resort to. I don't understand why it's been 10 years, but there are a couple of things in the Bible, one or two things in the Bible one or two things that says that there might be a long wait. But yeah, at the end of the day, if people don't believe me, maybe that's the plan. Maybe I don't want people to believe me. Maybe, the Bible is a test. I believe that my higher self has made the Bible and the Quran and lots of different religions and helped form them, not because it's the truth, but just because it's a test. Now, if I am the one who has the answers to the test, and to tell people that actually there's a lot of lies in these Bibles, or in these books, or say if the Bible confuses truth with lies and mixes truth with lies, if the test is to test people, then how can I test people if I give them the answers? And so maybe the plan is for me to just make these videos, and live my whole life not being helped in any way. And I believe there's a couple of people, maybe 1,000, maybe 4,000. I don't know how many people know. Maybe it's 1,000,000. I just really don't know who knows. I know the Illuminati are doing stuff because I've seen things like the material matters where, no, dark matters where, no, dark material, dark, or whatever it is. I can't never remember the name. Material, where there's like Eve's reincarnated and stuff, and there's a lot of small things in it. Most of the story is just fantasy and not really about me, but there are some sort of hints about a war coming between the authority, which is someone who is claiming themselves to be God when really they're not the creator, and they're saying that Eve is, well, the mother of all sin, but technically that is actually the mother of all people. And yeah, I don't know. I just know that I think there's a lot of people that know about me, and maybe they know that I am never going to be exposed in my lifetime, because if I'm exposed, then I will give people the answers to the test. And I suppose the real test, I would have thought the real test would have been people seeing me and saying, these are the answers to the test. Do you believe me or not? The Bible is fairy tales mixed with truth. Do you believe me? The Bible is supposed to point to me. My name is hidden throughout it. Do you believe me? And if people don't believe me, well, they failed the test. And my higher self doesn't have to help them. But the thing is, though, if people start believing me, I'm going to gather up a movement. And if I gather up a movement, this movement is just going to get bigger and bigger. And I'm sure it will get, I don't know how quick it would be. There's a lot of power behind the inspiration that I've been giving, and the Holy Spirit that I've been putting out. Although the Holy Spirit is technically evil, and hence why there's quite a lot of evil songs and films and stuff. But I think there's a good spirit as well. There's good and bad for everything. So, but yeah, maybe the point of me telling this is only to tell the people who are on Earth and know about me, and maybe the fewer people that know, the better things are. And maybe therefore the people aren't supposed to know. Because if I give the people the answer to the test, okay, a lot of people will fail it and deny me and say terrible things about me. And I think it's better that I'm alive, because people are more likely to say terrible things about me if I'm alive. If I'm dead, people are more likely to be a bit more respectful, because people are more respectful to people who are dead, because the dead can't talk back. But I don't want people to be respectful towards me. I want them, if they can't believe that a living person is God, then why are you believing in Jesus? That's the question. Although he's technically not a living person, he's a dead person. He's a person who never really is real and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just know that nothing happened now, and I've probably got. I guess the next date that I'm hoping on is March the 11th, which is the first day I met Martin. But I'm assuming though that if there is going to be a test, and if I'm going to be exposed to the world, my guess is that it will be through Big Brother. That's the only thing I can think. It might be through another path of just doing a video recording, and it getting to the right people, and the right people believing or wanting to know the evidence. And I'm not an insane mad person. I'm not here to be worshipped. I don't want worship. I don't want to be praised. I just want people to see what I see, and then I want to die. And I think that's a stronger message than someone who's like here to teach, but to also say that they are Christ and they are God, and they need people to look up to them. People don't need to. They do need to look up to me. Why? Because I'm God, and I'm the only one that can help them become gods. But I only want the people who to become gods. People who are people who can see the same logic and evidence that I see as to why I am a god. Because how are you, if you are becoming a god and you put yourself as a human on Earth? How are you going to tell your mortal self that you are a god when there is no other way of telling yourself this other than to hide your name in things? If you change something big, it will change and have effect on the whole timeline. So you can only do subtle things that are kind of going to go amiss. Because when you're editing the timeline, for every edit and every change you do, it's going to affect the whole timeline. But if you do small things like, anaconda, anaconda, that's a code word within a word. Now, if you say if they were going to call the anaconda or whatever, I don't know, what have a name, a boa or something. If they were going to call the largest snake in the world a boa, then it doesn't really link to me in a way. I mean, it's a boa, but whatever. But if I got them to call it that name and got the boa to be called boa, well, that's the second, or I don't know what is that. I think that's the second largest southern boa constrictor. But anyway, I am, I've planted things, and things that I've planted are not things that would massively change the timeline. Hence, I think that's what needs to happen. You can't make something too obvious, otherwise it will change the timeline too much. But this is the only way you can talk to your mortal self. And if you can't see how my higher self is talking to my mortal self, then how can you as a higher self talk to your mortal self if you were to become a god in a different timeline? But a lot of people just don't see that logic, because they'll just be like, oh no, God can do everything. So God doesn't need to plant things into things because God can do everything. It's just like, if you continue believing that God can do everything, then you've got absolutely no chance of being a god yourself. Why? Because you have no clue what you are. You have no clue about the truth. It's just like it's like saying that you could only be a mother if you do this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, actually, if you want to be a mother, all you need to do is have sex and have a baby. That's it. I mean, you might not be a good mother, but technically that's all you have to do to be a mother. Now, in the same way, you're not a god because you can do everything. You're a god because of a specific thing that you know how to do, which, that a mother doesn't know how to have a baby. But yeah, you have to have sex, and that's how you do it. And with a god, you also, okay, it's a little bit more complicated because you have to actually wake your mind up and stuff. But anyway.